Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of sources. And today, it's one incredibly profound, very personal text. And we pull out the essential wisdom you can use today.
And today, we are doing a deep dive into something really special, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius Antoninus.
Yeah, and our mission here is to really pull the core Stoic principles from this completely unexpected source.
Totally unexpected. I mean, we're talking about a Roman emperor, a man under constant, just brutal pressure, and his private journal has become maybe the most practical guide to inner peace ever written.
Okay, let's unpack that paradox right away, because who he was is so critical to understanding the book's power. This is Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome from 161 to 180 AD.
The last of the 5 good emperors.
Exactly. So you have the ruler of the known world, the ultimate power broker, and he's spending his nights writing these introspective philosophical notes to himself.
It's the ultimate juxtaposition. And get this, it wasn't some formal academic work he was writing in a quiet villa somewhere. Our sources are clear. Meditations is purely a record of his innermost thoughts. Little notes he jotted down to help him navigate the sheer weight of the world. It's less an intellectual exercise and more like a religious feeling. It's philosophy as a survival tool.
And when you look at the context of his life, it makes all that wisdom feel so battle-tested. This was not a peaceful time to be in charge.
Not at all. I mean, the backdrop of his life was just pure crisis. He's constantly dealing with these massive external threats. The Parthians, the Marcomanni, the Quadi.
Right, and the notes actually tell us that Book 1 is famously dated at Granua.
Yeah.
Which was a military camp.
A military camp. This philosophy was written in a tent, on campaign, not in a library.
And beyond the wars, Rome itself was in trouble.
Absolutely. They were dealing with the Antonine Plague, pestilence, widespread starvation. I mean, the pressure was so intense that Marcus had to sell the imperial jewels just to raise money for his people. And then you add the private tragedy, his domestic life, his son Commodus, who would become infamous and basically undo so much of his father's work. This philosophy was forged in real fire.
That context just gives it so much more power. So let's start at the beginning. Lay the foundation for us. What is this core Stoic school of thought that Marcus was leaning on so heavily?
So Stoicism, which was founded by Zeno and refined by others like Epictetus, it has this incredibly simple central goal to live in conformity with nature.
Okay, the nature to a Stoic was a huge concept, right? It wasn't just like trees and rivers.
No, not at all. It was the entire universe. The Stoic system was materialist, but it had this strong sort of pantheistic infusion. They believed the universe is God. And this divine ruling principle makes sure that all things work together for the good of the whole, the cosmic order.
So if everything is sort of preordained for the common good, where does that leave individual happiness? Or even effort?
Well, that's the thing. It defines happiness entirely by that effort. The core ethical principle is that for a human, the highest good is to consciously work with that divine force for the common good.
So virtue.
Virtue alone is happiness. Vice is unhappiness. And everything else, health, wealth, pain, pleasure, all the things we spend our lives chasing or running from, they're all considered indifferent. Adeaphora.
That sounds almost like apathy. How does he square that radical acceptance with the fierce sense of duty he obviously had as an emperor?
That's where the power is. They're indifferent precisely because they cannot touch your moral core. You can be sick, you can be poor, publicly humiliated, and still be a virtuous person. These external things are just, tools or obstacles. They don't affect the integrity of your soul.
And that brings us right to the most actionable idea in all of Stoicism. That big distinction between what is and is not in your power.
This separation is the absolute lifeblood of the Meditations. Marcus is laser-focused on the things that are within the power of your will, your desires, your opinions, your affections.
So your internal responses.
Exactly. Those are yours to control. Everything else, your body's health, how much money you have, what people say about you when you die, that's generally not in your power.
The whole philosophy, then, is really a system for protecting and strengthening what he calls his ruling principle.
That's it. Think of the ruling principle as your inner citadel. It's your capacity to judge and decide. It's the only thing that truly belongs to you, and so it's the only place where real harm or good can be done. If you control your judgments, the rest of the world can rage outside, and you stay safe.
It's so powerful that before he even starts laying out these ideas, the entire first book of Meditations is just him listing the people he's grateful for and what he learned from them.
It shows the relational side of his philosophy. This inner strength wasn't just something he was born with, it was cultivated. He lists his debt of gratitude. His grandfather taught him to be gentle. His father, modesty and courage.
And he didn't just learn from family, he actively sought out teachers.
He did. He credits a man named Apollonius with teaching him true liberty, steadfastness, to regard nothing but right and reason. And crucially, it was someone called Rusticus who introduced him to the commentaries of Epictetus.
The former slave who became a Stoic master.
Yeah, and our sources say that reading Epictetus showed Marcus that his own life, even as emperor, needed serious amending. It just shows that humility is the foundation for any kind of self-improvement.
Okay, let's shift from that foundation to the core practical takeaways, this idea of mastering the inner life. Marcus taught that suffering doesn't come from the world itself, but from our perception of it.
This is probably his greatest actionable insight. His maxim is so sharp. All is but opinion and conceit. External things that can't physically reach or affect your soul. All the tumult we feel, it comes from the opinion within.
So if I get a nasty comment on social media or a bad performance review at work, the suffering isn't the comment itself. It's the opinion I attach to it, the story I tell myself, like, this proves I'm a failure.
That is the modern application, 100%. If you remove the conceit, that inner judgment that the review is a personal tragedy, you're safe. It turns from doom into just data. Marcus taught that the moment you withdraw that judgment, the offense just loses its power.
And tied right into that is his relentless focus on how short life is and how everything is constantly changing.
Oh, constantly. He argues it doesn't matter if you live a long life or a short one. The effect is the same. You can only ever lose the present moment, which is just an instant. He even dismisses fame after you die as being no better than oblivion.
It's like a cosmic recycling program.
Exactly. The universe delights in change and alteration. Everything that exists now is just the seed of that which shall be. And that idea should be freeing. Death, he says, is as natural as a rose in spring or fruit in summer.
He has that incredible image for it, for accepting death.
Yeah, he says we should die meek and contented, like a ripe olive falling and praising the ground that bore her. It's just this image of profound, unforced harmony with the whole process.
Now, you'd think all this acceptance of fate and brevity might lead someone to be passive. But the Stoic path is all about duty in action.
It's the necessary counterbalance. Marcus confronts his own procrastination. He knew how tempting it was to just stay comfortable. When he didn't want to get out of bed, he famously reminds himself he is stirred up to go about a man's work.
Fulfilling his purpose.
Right. Nature gives you a certain amount of time for rest, but not for excessive ease.
And his most direct advice for productivity is to just stop worrying about what everyone else is doing.
It's timeless advice. He says you gain time and leisure by not being curious to know what his neighbor hath said or hath done, but by focusing only on what you do yourself, making sure it's just and holy. Basically, stop scrolling the drama feed and focus on your own actions.
In the end, he boils the good life down to 3 things.
Yeah, a happy lot in portion, as he puts it, is simply good inclinations of the soul, good desires, good actions. If you control those 3 internal things, you have happiness no matter what's happening outside.
That internal control is a great way to transition into his principles for handling the external world, especially other people, which is, let's be honest, where philosophy often gets really difficult.
He starts with sociability. He says we're all born to be fellow workers, like the feet, the hands, and the eyelids. We're all interconnected, even if we're constantly getting on each other's nerves.
And his advice for dealing with difficult people, the idle, the unthankful, the envious, it's just revolutionary in its perspective.
It's radical empathy. He tells us to remember their fault comes from a fundamental ignorance of what is truly good and bad. They're missing the target because they don't even know where the target is. But they are still our kinsmen, part of the same divine reason.
But how do you maintain that perspective when someone is being, actively malicious towards you? Doesn't calling it ignorance kind of let them off the hook?
Marcus's answer is that whether their fault is intentional or not, it's external to you. Your job isn't to judge their character. It's to make sure your own response remains virtuous. He says that against the unthankful, nature has given goodness and meekness as an antidote.
So the best revenge is not to be like them.
That is the ultimate defensive move for the soul.
Exactly.
And when he zooms out to the biggest questions like fate, how the cosmos is structured, he manages to find a practical path forward no matter the answer.
He lays out the cosmic dilemma. Either the world is governed by a rational providence, meaning there's order and government, or it's just chaos, Democritus's atoms just randomly colliding.
In his conclusion,
if providence rules, you trust the governor of all, you know that whatever happens is for the good of the whole. If it's just chaos, You should be glad you have a reasoning mind, your ruling principle, to govern your own life.
So either way,
Either way, the only things that truly belong to you are your own actions. Your duty doesn't change. The structure of the universe doesn't let you off the hook. He had these really clever practical techniques for stripping away the value we place on worldly things. It feels so relevant today.
oh, totally. He urged using lively fancies to penetrate objects and see them for what they are. To strip away the outward pomp, he'd say to compare a fancy purple robe to its base matter. It's just sheep's hairs dyed with the blood of a shellfish.
It's about removing the fantasy we project onto things.
Exactly. Once you see a diamond ring as just a piece of carbon, its power over your judgment starts to fade.
He even applied this simplicity to prayer.
He did. He said either we shouldn't pray at all or we should pray absolutely and freely, not just for ourselves but for the common good. He gives the example, "Oh, rain, rain, good Jupiter, upon all the grounds and fields that belong to the Athenians." It has to be a selfless wish for the whole community.
So after this whole deep dive, what does this all mean for us? I mean, the core message he left us seems to be about finding peace and keeping your inner integrity, being unspotted by pleasure, undaunted by pain, while still doing your duty.
And the definition of happiness he lands on is so liberating because it puts all the control back in your hands. Happiness is an inward power of the soul when she is affected with indifferency towards those things that are by their nature indifferent. If you decide these external things don't matter, they lose their power over you.
It all comes down to that beautiful simplicity, that very little is needed to make a happy life. And what's left for a person is to worship and praise the gods, and to do good unto men, to bear with them, and to forbear to do them any wrong.
It's a perfect distillation of a virtuous life. But, and our sources point this out, there's a profound paradox at the end of his life. Despite his commitment to reason and justice, Marcus Aurelius is noted for the great blot on his name.
His persecution of the Christians.
Yes, whom he dismissed as being merely violently and passionately set upon opposition.
So you have this philosopher king, dedicated to truth and reason. But his rigid understanding of nature and Roman custom created this massive blind spot for a rising philosophical and spiritual movement happening right under his nose.
Which leaves us with a provocative thought for you to take away. If Marcus Aurelius, a man devoted above all else to following reason, could fail to recognize truth or goodness in an unexpected place because of his own established preconceptions, his own fixed worldview, his dogmata, what popular opinions or prejudices might we ourselves hold today that stop us from recognizing truth or goodness in new or unexpected places? That inner work is perhaps the only thing that is never truly indifferent.